Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wrestling Republic Daily Broadcast. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and the date today is Saturday, February 25th, 2023. Clark is still in Las Vegas, and I'm sure he's going to have a lot of stories for us on Tuesday. But with me today, we have the one, the only super producer, Coby Galenzoski. How are you, Coby?
No, I'm doing pretty good. We got SmackDown. I enjoyed Impact with Anthony last night. It was a good show. We got SmackDown. We got things to talk about. We're on the road to WrestleMania, and this was the first SmackDown. We got a lot. Like I said, we got a lot to talk about. And let's brief it down. It is the two of us, and I know we are very capable of making an entertaining show here.
Absolutely. And yeah, we're going to run through SmackDown, basically give our thoughts on the show. And I mean, I enjoyed the show personally. I thought there was a few interesting things about it, and we'll be sure to get into them today. But the show kicked off with a six-man tag team match with Braun Strowman, Ricochet, and Madcap Moss teaming up to face Imperium. And I still, every time I see Braun Strowman and Ricochet together as a tag team, I still just can't get over it. But I added Madcap Moss into the mix, as if it couldn't get any stranger to see, it somehow did. But yeah, Imperium, I mean, it was a fun start to SmackDown. Imperium, did get the win, thankfully. And then after the match, which was the most notable thing about the segment, Drew McIntyre came out to confront Gunther. And, I mean, we originally thought that it was going to be Sheamus versus Gunther, or perhaps a triple threat. And maybe it will be still the triple threat direction they end up going in. In fact, I still think it will be. But it was quite interesting that McIntyre came out on his own to get in, to stare down Gunther. But yeah, McIntyre then got taken out by the Viking Raiders before Sheamus came out and made the save. So to me, it seems like they want to, wrap up this Banger Bros story in like the next couple of weeks against Viking Raiders, and then they're going to be moving on to the Intercontinental Championship scene for WrestleMania. But yeah, I mean, McIntyre versus Gunther, or even McIntyre versus Sheamus versus Gunther. I think all those are great options for WrestleMania, and are all options that I'd certainly be down to see. But what were your thoughts on it all, Coby?
I mean, I was a big fan of the way they do things with Imperium. They were really good as a trio on NXT, and now it's like they really have the chance to shine. Vinci is so good. Ludwig is so good. Gunther is the cherry on top. He is so good. That they should be able to be a future Hall of Fame stable, if you want to say it that way. I thought it was interesting. They threw them together. Yeah, Braun and Ricochet were in the feud with Imperium before, and then Madcap just had that. I don't want to say strangely good, but it was a solid enough match with Gunther last week. Overall, nothing to complain about. Imperium winning was the right move. It is interesting that Drew McIntyre came out alone and then the Viking Raiders did it. But why are the Viking Raiders continuing to do this if they're losing? Why are they continuing it is if they are going to lose again, because you're not going to have, if it's a team, you're not going to have Sheamus and Drew McIntyre lose again if they're going to be in the IC title picture at WrestleMania. So that's the thing. Yes, you can say, oh, there's a Triple H booking, this is Vince booking, or whatever. At the end of the day, it is a puzzling. Not everything's going to be a Grand Slam. Not everything's a Grand Slam in any company, period. And at the end of the day, this is a puzzling position that they are putting themselves in. So, yeah.
Yeah, it certainly is one where we're trying to figure out what their plans are, but it is difficult to see at times. And yeah, people of course have been hating, not for the first time on Triple H's booking, to be fair, since he's taken over the main roster, but they have been hating quite a lot over the last few weeks. And I mean, Anthony's famous quote at this point is, "How is this the same creative team who books the Bloodline?" Which, of course, I think is a great line from Anthony. But you also do make a very good point that, yes, there is still good and bad booking, but still, even good booking cannot please everybody. Everyone wants different things, and no booker is without flaws, right? But yeah, I mean, I'm certainly interested to see where this goes, and the possibility of McIntyre versus Gunther, or even McIntyre versus Sheamus versus Gunther at WrestleMania is very exciting in my eyes. We then got the first Dominik Mysterio appearance of the night, and you would see him another 2 times after this. And yeah, Santos Escobar was, for some reason, I say for some reason, obvious reason, but Santos Escobar was telling Rey Mysterio how much he respected him in what was kind of a bit of a random segment, but whatever. But then Dominik Mysterio interrupted and got in the face of Rey Mysterio before, Dominik then left. And yeah, that was foreshadowing what we'll see later on in the night. We then had your favorite Kobe, LA Knight, come out to the crowd. And he's a great promo, right? LA Knight. We all know this. We all know how great on the mic LA Knight is. But truthfully, this was just a bit of a weird promo. I mean, his booking has just not been great. The thing is, though, right? He made this promo good. He did. He delivered it brilliantly. And at one point, there were some what chants, and he shut them up quick. And that's when somebody can do that on the mic, that is a very, very promising sign. But yeah, LA Knight came out, told everybody that he doesn't need a WrestleMania moment. WrestleMania needs an LA Knight moment. And I mean, admittedly, it wasn't just he came out and said that. He came out, said a bunch of other stuff, and then that was the end point. And it wasn't written great, but it was delivered really well, which made up for that somewhat. The New Day, who of course lost the NXT Tag Team titles a few weeks ago, then made their way out to the ring and told LA Knight that WrestleMania moments are earned. And I mean, LA Knight did a couple of digs at Kofi about, see how your WrestleMania moment turned out for you. And Kofi basically said, well, I won the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. I fought for that moment. And yeah, admittedly, Kofi's booking since then has, a lot of people hope that his booking coming out of WrestleMania at that point and coming off that world title reign especially would put him, still in a main event position, and it didn't. It was like a one and done thing. But Kofi's promo, it was great. It was a great response to all those people who, say that he was, I guess, a one-hit wonder when it comes to, in the world title picture. But yeah, anyway, LA Knight and then Kofi Kingston had a match. And yeah, Kofi Kingston surprisingly got the victory. It was actually quite a fun match. I did enjoy it, but damn, LA Knight's booking. I don't understand it. I mean, I understand that he's obviously quite old now, right? And he's coming into the company quite old, so you can't make him a mainstream star. So I mean, I understand why they're not gonna, have him beat younger talents and stuff like that. But Kofi Kingston, he could have beaten Kofi. And they could have, carried this feud on a little bit and then had him face Xavier Woods something the next week. It is just a bit weird, his booking. I do not understand it. If it was an up-and-coming star or something like that beating LA Knight, I'd understand it. Or even, even a Bray Wyatt, if I'm being honest. I know, Kobe, you disagree, but I thought they shouldn't. LA Knight should have definitely never beaten Bray Wyatt. Because LA Knight's too old to be that guy. I've said it before and I'll say it again. He is too old to be that guy, unfortunately. He has all the talent in the world. And I think, and I hope, he has a very promising future in WWE as a manager once he, retires from in-ring competition, or even do an MVP where he's doing both. He wrestles now and again and he can step in the ring when he needs to. But he's primarily, a manager because he's at an age where he can't get over in WWE of course he can get over, but he can't become a top star. Because to become a top star in WWE, compare it to becoming a top star in NXT and AEW, even in a lot of these companies elsewhere, is that to become the champion in WWE, you need to be a mainstream draw. Or at the very least have the potential to become a mainstream draw. We said this before, it takes 5 to 7 years at least. LA Knight does not have that time. Once he'd become a mainstream draw, he'd be like, 47, 48? And then no way would he have much time left after that. And Martin76 in the comments saying, why is such an issue. I've spoken about this on the podcast in the past, and basically WWE's policy as such. Well, I don't know if it has changed slightly now. Because I think it has. I think they've been a bit more lenient now. But was that when NXT 2.0 was introduced, they were no longer going to sign people over the age of 30 because they wanted to ideally get people on the main roster by the age of 30. Now, the reason it's such an issue in terms of age in WWE is what I just said. For WWE, it's a mainstream company. It is not a lot of wrestling fans, a lot of hardcore wrestling fans like we are, forget that we make up less than 10%. The hardcore wrestling fan base makes up less than 10% of WWE's fan base. The rest of it is super casual fans, and that is where the money is, truth be told. Right? The hardcore 10% obviously makes more than a casual 10% because, of course, the hardcore is going to buy more merch and all that. But still, the casual fans earn them a lot of money, earns them viewerships, earns them a lot of ticket sales and all of that. And yeah, Mark saying that isn't AJ in his mid-40s, yes, he is, but he was still 4 years younger than LA Knight is now when he debuted in WWE. Because he was 38 when he came in at the Rumble, I believe. But yeah, that's AJ Styles. There's always going to be exceptions to the rules, I think, but I don't think LA Knight's that guy. I truly don't. I think he's a great, great talent, by the way, and I'm not knocking him for a second, but I mean, AJ Styles came in as a star already. And he was just so over. Even so, AJ Styles never became mainstream, has still never become a mainstream draw. He hasn't. Let's be real about it. When he was champion, his ratings were not good. They were one of the worst. Jinder Mahal's ratings as champion were actually slightly higher at times, segment for segment. AJ Styles was not drawing that great ratings, which is kind of puzzling in a way. I'm so glad they did, as AJ Styles is one of my favorite guys. But it was in a weird way, a bit puzzling, where they kept him as champion for so long. And a lot of that was because he was on SmackDown, which was the B brand at the time, while they had obviously Brock Lesnar as champion on Raw for most of his title reign. So they could get away with it with having Brock Lesnar be, the big draw. But, for example, with one championship now, I don't think AJ Styles would even won it. If it was in that position now where there wasn't 2 titles, I don't even know if AJ would have won it. And if he did, certainly not for as long as he has done. But, Kobe, what were your thoughts on this LA Knight segment?
I mean, okay, I'll say the joke that I thought of the second while watching it is when he was still having dialogue with the New Day, he was like, oh, well, you guys should stop playing video games. I was like, oh, I bet, as a joke, I was like, oh, Undertaker's like, oh, I should have helped this guy instead of Bray Wyatt.
Oh my God.
Undertaker's comments about the video games as a joke. At the end of the day, I do like, it's weird because it is, the booking's weird. Yes, he's a great promo artist. Yes, he can talk. Yes, he can do it. He can sell you on an eraser. He at the end of the day, he's not going to be on the WrestleMania card unless he's going to show up and get stunned by someone. Unless he's going to be the subject of just a spot by some part-timer, if you want to say it that way. At the end of the day, I don't know what the direction was. But that's the thing. Like, I want to know it as this. I want to think of it as this. It's like, well, what did Bray Wyatt need to win for? You could have done a lot more story with him losing and Howdy being mad and all that. LA Knight needed to win more. At the end of the day, yes, I understand. Yes, you can't fully push him. But at the end of the day, he's in the limbo where, like I said weeks ago, I do not want this section to be his peak. I do not want to see LA Knight not become more, or not have a championship run, or not be in a bigger spot than this. And I 100% agree. He has the potential to be a commentator. He has the potential to be a manager. But I think you can strike gold with this guy. I think you can. He can be a future main eventer. He's not that's the thing. He's not going to be in the position of Roman Reigns. He's not. But if you told me a year ago Sami Zayn would be in the main event of a premium live event, I'm laughing in your face. Sami Zayn had that rise in popularity, and I'm going to give that to Sami Zayn's ability. But I think LA Knight can be in that position. LA Knight in the Cody Rhodes feud, that can draw money. LA Knight, Seth Rollins, that can draw money. Bray Wyatt is in the position, which I'll get to later. He's not adding to the product. LA Knight is at least attempting to turn whatever he can into a better thing. He's at least he's making the best of what he's given at the end of the day.
Yeah, he truly is. And like you said, he can sell you, on an eraser. He on the mic, he truly is one of the best in the business right now. I truly do believe that. And when I say the manager thing about him, why I think he should be a manager long term, and even I'm going to be honest, I think he should be in the MVP role where he wrestles. I know MVP is not wrestling as much now, but where he wrestles and is a manager, I think he should be in that role ASAP. If I'm being brutally honest, because damn, I think this guy, dare I say, might be the next Heyman in terms of a manager. I think he's the only person in the business close. I really, really do. And I know a lot of Malcolm Bivens fans are going to be annoyed at that comment, but I mean it. I truly do. I think LA Knight is just another level. I think he could be a Heyman in terms of, a manager for somebody. And I truly would absolutely love to see him become a manager. And I think if he was to do that, I think he's got like a 30-year career in WWE. I think he really does have a job for life. And I think he could become an absolute legend. Whereas if he just stays as an in-ring competitor and then retires, I think we're looking at being released in a couple of years. As sad as it is, I really think that could be the case. Which is stupid because, like you said, he sells matches really well. He really, really does. And I do agree with your point, to be fair, about he should never have been in the feud with Bray Wyatt. No way. He should never have been in that position. He was not the one to give Bray Wyatt first, I don't really think. But somebody like Cody Rhodes or Seth Rollins, that is a great feud. And like you said, he will sell you on it. But anyway, we get into the next segment now. And yes, Charlotte Flair comes out and calls out Rhea Ripley before out comes Dominik Mysterio instead of Rhea Ripley. And wow, oh wow, Dominik has flipping improved on the mic over the last year. He was great in this segment. He really, really was. Now, don't get me wrong, right? None of these segments, Dominik Mysterio comes out of looking like, world championship material. He comes out looking like a bit of a dork or whatever, right? Or a bit of a simp, for lack of a better word. But he plays the role perfectly. Last year, he was all awkward on the mic. It felt so weird, and his segments were a bit awful. This year, it's a year later. He's just done a complete 180. It's really entertaining stuff, and he delivers what he's meant to deliver fantastically. And I've said this before, right? Yes, at this moment in time, he's not going to become anything in terms of a huge star in WWE because of the gimmick, but he could step out with this gimmick, and I think this gimmick is getting him used to the spotlight and is doing him the world of good. And damn, he was great in this segment with Charlotte. Honestly, I've become sold on him over the last couple months with this Judgment Day stuff, especially with Rhea Ripley. And yeah, Rhea Ripley eventually came out. Dominik was trying to separate them and all that, but yeah, it was a really fun segment in my opinion. Charlotte Flair was great as always on it, as she always is, great on the mic. But yeah, I'm sold on Dominik Mysterio now. But what do you think, Kobe?
I think we're in the position where Dom is earning his stripes, if you want to call it that. He is. He's being put in the position where it's like, yes, people wanted to see it. Like, he's always going to toot his own horn. Anthony always says in July, I think it was July, he wrote his article about he should become Dominic Guerrero or whatever it was along those lines. And then he did the turn a month later. At the end of the day, a lot of people were going to expect him to turn on Ray and all that. The prison Dom stuff it is comedy gold. It's bad acting, but it's just funny and entertaining. I mean, this is me. A lot of people are gonna say. A lot of people said a year ago, "Oh, Hook is what WWE wanted Dominik to be." At the end of the day, Hook is in a very stagnant position right now. We're not going on about AEW's booking right now. I'm not, at least. At the end of the day, Dominik is in a phenomenal spot. We saw his crowd reaction to Elimination Chamber. I enjoyed the hell out of it, seeing the crowd curse him out, say nah, hey, goodbye, with him leaving. At the end of the day, it was just pure entertainment. He is becoming a good part of the product. I think this was interesting with him coming out first, him saying it. I think he didn't say enough of the prison dom stuff. If I'm being fair in this segment, he focused more on Rhea's mommy, stuff like that. We kind of delved into this yesterday on the daily broadcast, me and Anthony, about the entire dynamic of Dominik and Rhea and all that. And I mean, at the end of the day, I do think this is the better match. I was not sold on Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair. I'm sold on this match because I know what they've been. I've seen what they're capable of together, and this is Rhea Ripley in a new position and a new light. However you want to say it, she's in a extremely better position right now, and I really like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, in a way, the one thing I will say about the I'll say this: I don't know if the prison dom stuff, in my opinion, needed to be said in that promo, because we don't want the joke, and it is a great joke. We don't want the joke to get too old. And I know the point of it is that overdoing the joke anyway, but I think it would have overdone it just too much if it was brought into this segment too much, especially when it was already talked about earlier in the night slightly as well. But when he was with Santos Escobar backstage. But yeah, it was a great segment, in my opinion. And like you said, I mean, I'm turning that into a clip and putting it on the Instagram, Kobe. Dominik Mysterio is in a better position than Knock now. He is. I don't think anybody can deny it. I'm sure Clark and Soul will come on the podcast next week and will be, mad at us for saying it. But yeah, Dominik Mysterio, I truly do agree with you, is in a better position right now than Huck. But anyway, we then got on to I mean, I don't want to describe it as a toilet break match, but I mean, I just was not very interested in it at all, to be honest with you.
You want me to take the lead on this one?
What, you go for it. If you want it, go for it.
Okay, Shayna Baszler does not work on the main roster. I'm kidding. So Shayna Baszler versus Natalya. Of course, this is Shayna Baszler broke the nose of Natalya in October or whatever. At the end of October, I think it was. At the end of the day, this had a story. Why is Tegan Nox supporting Natalya? I don't know. Why is Shayna Baszler running from Tegan Nox? I don't know. Why are they running from Tegan Nox? I don't know. At the end of the day, I don't know what the position is for this. I agree Ronda Rousey should not be in the title picture right now because last year was a flop for twice. It was a flop twice. At the end of the day, I don't know what the direction is. I assume this is the tag title. They're going to do something with the tag titles. I'm not interested in Tegan Nox's booking. I'm not interested. I understand Natalya's in the position was, yes, she's a legend. She's working with the younger talent. She's training. She has her own mini hard dungeon with Tyson Kidd, and she's working with Liv, Moose, Angelo Dawkins, all that. There's videos on the social media. But at the end of the day, I do not get the hype about Shayna Baszler right now. Shayna Baszler is in the position Ben Allison's trying to sell me on LA Knight. Shayna Baszler's too old. LA Knight has the potential. Shayna Baszler, I'd rather watch Tamina at this point. Shayna Baszler bores me to death right now. And I'm not interested in this tag team. I know I'm going to have to be if I'm going to WrestleMania. But at the end of the day, it's just not good TV.
I mean, I agree with you completely. I truly do. I mean, Shayna Baszler in NXT was interesting, right? She was. But on the main roster, like you said, it doesn't really work. And right? Tegan Nox is from literally just where I lived and where I was brought up. And I was a huge fan of her. But I've got no reason to care about her on the main roster. Not one. There's no story. She's got no character. There's no story given. It's lazy booking. And like I described it kind of before, unfortunately, it was kind of a toilet break match. But I mean, are you really sold on... I mean, what do you reckon they're even going to do with Shayna and Ronda at Mania? Because it doesn't seem like they're writing them in the direction for a tag team title shot.
If I had to see something, I think they might actually have Becky and Lita win. And that'd be the direction they go. Becky Lita versus... I like if I mean if I have the book and if I'm kind of analyzing what I see happening, I very much think that could be the possibility. Becky, Lita, Ronda, Shayna, and then as well as Trish and Bailey. That could very well be it because I mean they're saying creative differences took Trish in a different direction. We don't know what that direction is, but it's obvious she's going to be used to some degree in the future. But I don't know. I'm not interested. I assume if you had to tell me you're putting Ronda and Shayna in a title match at WrestleMania, I'm going to say, well, I'm not going to give them Damage Control.
Yeah, well, of
I
course
mean,
not.
I wouldn't bury Damage Control in that way. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Becky and Lita can take the loss. I mean, Lita can take the loss at this point.
That's true. I mean, a lot of people kind of presumed that this WrestleMania was going to be the one where we finally got a singles match. And I called it like months and months ago. I said, I'm certain we're getting Becky versus Ronda this Mania, the singles match between the two. And I'm sure that's going to main event night one of WrestleMania. But I mean, that obviously just hasn't materialized in the slightest. And it kind of became obvious when Charlotte returned and just beat Ronda Rousey that wasn't going to happen. But
I mean, I think it became obvious when throughout her reign it was just like, this is not good.
Yeah.
No, I understand. Yes, there's the casual factor. It's a much bigger factor. Ronda Rousey's a draw, but in the terms of someone watching the week-to-week product like myself, you, Anthony, whoever it is, my desire to see that match was dying exponentially, or not. I guess not exponentially. That's a decay. That's a decaying.
The most interesting thing is she's not that big of a draw, Ronda Rousey. I think for the longest time, wrestling fans I think everybody in general kind of overestimated how much of a draw she was, because coming in she was a draw, right? When she first arrived in the company, but her segment by segment ratings and even her, her match ratings and all that, they're not that good. They're really not. Like, Becky's way higher. So I mean, I'm kind of truly...
Well, is that a matter of they overused her? Like, I mean, there's a lot of factors you can think of. Is like, well, she's no longer the draw, and then what's the factor? Is it she's getting exposed in the business? I'm not going to say that. I'm gonna say they've blown the wad with her. No one cares to see her. No one wanted her in Charlotte last year. That match was worse. I mean, at the end of the day, there's a lot of, like, she couldn't elevate anyone except for Raquel in the rivalry in the title reign she had. Like, I don't know if it's a matter of that or if she's just going to be used for this. I'd be more interested in seeing Becky and Lita retain if that's the direction they go for Mania. But because I'm not interested in seeing Ronda in the company anymore. I'm not.
Yeah.
I understand the purpose of why she's in the company and she's making the money, I assume. But from a fan's perspective, I'm not interested.
No, I certainly agree with you there. And the other thing I will briefly add to what you said is that I actually do think that's the direction they go in. I think they do the tag team match, Lita and Becky versus Ronda and Shayna. I think that is. I'm going to be honest. I was kind of more thinking that they were going to do a 6-woman tag team match with Damage Control teaming together, face Becky, Lita, and someone else. You mentioned Trish Stratus, but perhaps they will go in a singles direction for Bailey. Damage Control as a tag team won't be together at Mania, and they do.
I mean, my only question is if that was the direction, the trios or a 6-woman tag. Yeah. Where, like, you're building Ronda and Shayna as a tag team for what?
No, are you
gonna whip up Lay Cool? Are you gonna whip out the Bella Twins? Like, for what reason? Like, that's the thing. We know the Bella Twins in WWE are obviously in shady ground or something along those lines. But I wouldn't see why there's the purpose of building these up unless you're gonna go after WrestleMania. Like, I don't know. I think this is a more possible route than the trios match.
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think you've got it perfectly there. I think that is what's going to happen. But you mentioned Bella Twins versus Ronda Rousey and Shayna. For some really weird reason, I think I'd like to see that. I don't know why. I have no idea why.
I mean, I'd prefer that over Lakewool. But I mean,
Well,
I'm just trying to think of, who do you have?
I
What are you
think
going
it
to
would
whip
just
out?
be
Are you going to do Nia and Tamina again?
I think we gotta get
Tamina
Tim
ends
or
up
Beth.
saying, I got someone, and then it's Nia. I don't know.
Oh, no.
I mean...
I'm so glad that Nia Jax's return wasn't like an actual return to the company.
It was interesting because they sold merch for her. So it was that was okay, so she's in the company, or else why would you sell merch? Irresistible Force merch. That made no sense. Obviously, her family.
True.
Her? Did she sell out? Did she buy out all the stock? I don't know.
Perhaps so. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I said at the Rumble, I'll say it again. I do not understand remotely the appeal of her in any way, shape.
No, we have Piper Niven.
Yeah, and Piper's great. Piper
exactly.
She's Nia Jax, but a lot better. It is. I'm still annoyed about the Elimination Chamber thing, but anyway, let's get into the
polishing the shovel, man. Hurry up.
Yeah, the next segment is going to be one which I think is going to divide us based on what Coby's saying. But next up, we had a strange video package from Bray Wyatt, which was a Firefly Funhouse type thing, but it wasn't a normal Firefly Funhouse, and it was really, really different. It was like a compilation type thing, and I'm going to be honest. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to say it right now. This was the most interesting thing that I've seen Bray Wyatt do since returning to WWE, right? His return has not been good. It has not been. There's been a couple of highlights, but most of it's just been dull. And I know there's long-term storytelling, absolutely. But long-term storytelling also does mean that the storytelling you tell still needs to be entertaining. And yeah, it just has not been a lot of the time during this. But I really enjoyed this. There were so many elements to it. It was really fun. I mean, the Uncle Howdy weather, that made me laugh a little bit. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, now obviously Wyatt kept saying, "Can you keep a secret?" And a lot of people thought that they should Eric Young's voice during it. And of course, we know he's left Impact. So perhaps, who knows? But yeah, I enjoyed it. I didn't have any issues with this segment at all. I mean, I don't know if it really built towards the one. Okay, the one issue I do have with it is it didn't really build towards Lashley Wyatt. It didn't really in any way build up that feud at all. So that is the one issue I had with it, is perhaps it didn't do its job in terms of booking. But I was thoroughly entertained by it. But Coby, I believe you have a different take.
Oh yeah, 100%. I got a little shoehorn. I got the shovel going.
No.
I got the shovel going. This continue. I understand the appeal. I understand he makes money for the company. I understand the fun. The Funhouse was one of the most entertaining. The Firefly Funhouse match for the COVID Mania was one of the most entertaining cinematic matches they actually had. But at the end of the day, this is just I'm sick of it. You're in the position of, okay, if this is the direction, you have 5 weeks. You have 5 weeks to build to Bobby Lashley versus Bray Wyatt, two people who have probably encountered each other once or twice. If I'm trying to remember, they might have been in that one 5-way that Samoa Joe won the number one contendership from during Brock's reign. I can't remember who was all, or no, I don't think that was that match. No, because I think it was Joe, Roman, Seth, Balor, and Bray. Never mind. Okay, now scratch that. But at the end of the day, these are people who have nothing. There's no heat. I have no desire to see Bobby Lashley versus Bray Wyatt. And this did nothing. Throughout the last 4 months, it's been revel in who you are. And now it's, can you keep a secret? I don't know the connection. This hasn't given me enough to care. At the end of the day, this could have been gone. This could have gone to more Santos and Dom stuff. Or this could have gone to something else. This could have gone to some other picture or position of someone on the roster. At the end of the day, yes, I understand people might be entertained by it. People might have been entertained by the toupee he was wearing. At the end of the day, even him watching himself call out Brock and Lashley He was in the locker room. It was visibly noticeable that he was in a locker room. Like, I mean, from a production standpoint, that is garbage. I mean, I had the shovel. I did the motions. This was not good.
I agree with some of the points you made. I truly do, and I completely agree. I have no desire to see Wyatt Lashley at all either. But were you entertained by the segment? Will you say that? Were you entertained? Were you enjoying it while it was on?
No.
Oh wow.
No, I enjoyed the Funhouse match with Cena. It's just more of like, why are you like from the time you're giving Bray Wyatt, this is what you give him, or this is what he's giving you. That it was a matter of I understand. Like, I mean, the person playing with the action figures had small hands. You could say that was Alexa. I don't know if you want to say it that way either. I don't know enough.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy it.
I mean, I truly had no issues with this segment, apart from the fact you touched on it too. There's 5 weeks. Nobody has a desire to watch Wyatt Lashley, and they just didn't build towards it. That is the one issue with this, right? But I found it enjoyable, right? And yes, we don't have a lot of answers. And yes, they need to hurry up with giving us the answers, or at least make it more entertaining while they're giving them to us slowly, right? But yeah, I mean, I have no issue with it. Hopefully, the "can you keep a secret" thing leads somewhere, unlike the reveling what you are, whatever, which clearly I don't think it translated well at all. I think to people who knew what it meant, it how they did the story made sense. But one of the issues with story, this is something you've always got to consider when you're making a piece of art or storyline, whatever, right? And it's something which we talk about in graphic design a lot. When you're trying to, communicate a certain narrative or story, it might sound fantastic to you, but then if you take a step back, right, because you know it all, right? You know it all. So how it makes sense to you when you watch back, it might make sense. Like, I've done it perfectly. When you take a step back and you don't know what you know about what the story is, it might not translate to the viewer, and they might not get a few points out there. And that's why when that's why you always show it to people first. You always talk to people. You don't let them know about what the story is. You show it to them, ask them what they think the answer is. Then if they're completely off, then you have to change things up a bit and make it a bit more obvious. Now, I don't think they did that. And I think that's why after the Uncle Howdy stuff and the entire revel in what you are stuff, it just didn't translate well at all. It was too slow, and I think the majority of viewers just didn't understand it. But I mean, as long as talking strictly this segment, I had no issue with it, to be honest, right? But then we moved on to Rey Mysterio versus Karrion Kross. It feels like this is like the 5th time we've seen this match, but whatever. Karrion Kross won this match. It was decent enough. Dominik Mysterio came on the show for the 3rd time. He was the MVP of SmackDown. He came on the show for the 3rd time, and cost Rey the victory. After the match, Dominik told Rey to punch him. Rey wouldn't. And Rey walked away, and it's just Dominik's doing a great job. Rey's doing a great job in this storyline. I'm looking forward to this at Mania. Do you have anything to add, Kobe?
I don't know if I have anything to add. The only thing I would have liked to see is Kross continuing his character. Like at the end of it, Kross being seen at the bottom saying, hit your son, can be the bad father we know you are," or something along those lines, where it's audible. You can continue that. At the end of the day, I mean, it was what it was. I didn't need to see this match again. Kross with the hair is still weird. It was fine. It was good enough. Did what it was supposed to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's not really much more to say about that. But yeah, it did its job, like you stated. And also, I'm excited for Dominik versus Rey. I really am. I think the direction they're going to go is I think Rey's going to win, and then I think in a year's time, a year or two maybe, I think it'll be next year personally. I think they're going to run it back, and I think that's when they're going to do the mask match, and they might even do a mask versus hair match, because I have a feeling that might be the direction they go in, and I think that's what's going to be when Rey passes the torch, because Rey's already said that's what's going to happen, and I don't see this being I don't see Ray retiring this year. I think it's going to be next year when that does happen. But anyway, now we move on to the main event, which it wasn't a match. It technically was not the main event. But, Jimmy Uso came out, begged for Jey Uso to come out so they can sort stuff out before the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns returns next week to take care of the family. But yeah, Jimmy cut a really, really good promo. Then out came Sami Zayn, and yeah, Sami cut a great promo as well. Sami was talking about how he was betrayed. He felt betrayed by Jimmy over the fact that he turned on him so quickly when he attacked Roman, when Jimmy was the one who was there for him the entire time. And then Jimmy made some good points too, and then Sami made some even better points about the fact that, Reigns was manipulating Jey all this time and all that, but Jimmy was having none of it. Jey Uso then appeared at the top of the arena on his own in the crowd, and wow, Jey got a big reaction. I'm about to say something controversial about this in a second, but I'll get to it. But anyway, while Sami was looking up at Jey, Jimmy took him out. Jimmy was then looking up at Jey. Sami took him out. And in the end, Solo and Jimmy ended up beating down Sami Zayn while Jey just watched from the crowd. We have no idea why Jey's alliance lines, but I'll say this. I think they're in a really difficult situation here because I actually don't think that the tag team match should be Sami and Kevin versus the Usos. Because I think that Jey might be too over right now to turn it to, have him remain in the bloodline. I think this really could be, with how over he is, Jey's moment to break out and become a star. I truly, truly do. But the issue is the tag team titles are on them. And no way can you end their historic reign. Yeah, you can't end their historic reign just by them vacating the titles because they split up as a tag team. But it's a difficult situation. I mean, I'm almost inclined to say that maybe Jey still doesn't pick Jimmy. Like at WrestleMania, the match is announced Usos versus Sami and Kevin, but Jey's still not sure where his alliance is, and he said he's going to do the match and he's going to fight for his brother, but he's reluctant to do it and all that. He does compete in the match, but in the end they lose. The Usos lose, Sami and Kevin win, and then Jey sides with Kevin and Sami. Maybe not turning on Jimmy completely, or maybe then Jimmy turns on him. Maybe you have Jey sides with, says like congratulations, whatever. Then Jimmy turns on Jey. Maybe that's the move. I don't know, but Jey is so over right now. But what do you think about it all, Coby? Do you have any ideas on how they can benefit from Jey being this over?
I said this yesterday and with Anthony on the show, and it was a matter of yes, people wanted to say Sami Zayn winning was the only way to end that story. And the story isn't over. The story continues. As of right now, the whole Bloodline honorary story was Roman Reigns' story, was Sami Zayn's story, is Jey Uso's story for the last 3 years. At the end of the day, there are so many ways you can go, and I love the idea of having this alliance up in air. I was never officially sold on Jey being the reason Sami lost as a heel turn in Montreal, because at the end of the day, he sides with his blood, which is his twin. Roman is his cousin. At the end of the day, you can view it differently that way. But at the end of the day, Roman did the exact same thing he did to Jey Uso. And he did it to Sami Zayn, where he was pie-facing him. He was being aggressive. He was trying to tell him what to do. And at the end of the day, I 100% agree. I don't know if this is the direction they need to go. I don't know. I don't want to see Jey Uso just fall back in line. I say this again, and I'll say this again, and I'll always believe it. After WrestleMania, Roman Reigns if he loses it, he takes time off. The bloodline has to split. If you keep Sikoa with the Usos or with someone in some way, that works. But at the end of the day, you cannot leave this. You cannot put Jey Uso back in the bloodline. I don't think you can.
Yeah, I mean that is some great points, and I do agree completely. I think they kind of got to have Jake go in its own direction, and I think this is the perfect opportunity. He is so over right now. But that brings us to the end of today's episode, guys. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Please leave a like and comment below if you enjoyed, because likes really, really do help us. Please share this podcast so more and more people see it too. We're here every single day, Monday through Sunday, every day, 7 days a week, and we'll be back here tomorrow. I think we're going 8:30 tomorrow. I need to double check that. I'm pretty sure it's 8:30. It'll be on the Instagram story when we're going. And Chaos is going to be joining us on air. And yeah, Chaos is going to be joining us, and I think Soul will be too tomorrow, if I'm correct in remembering that. But anyway, thank you everybody for watching, and we will see you tomorrow. Thank you.